When you don't take time to look at it through other people's eyes. Take some time and reflect on what you believe in your soul. Cause that is the key to life. You gotta let the negativity go.
Hello, and welcome to What the Fox podcast with your two hosts, Lindsey Fox and Amber Ross. Before we get started today, I want to remind everybody that What the Fox podcast is proudly sponsored by Therapy Appointment, which is a practical tool for starting, growing, and managing your practice, built for therapists by therapists. We are also proud to say that we are sponsored by Lindsey's Conscious Healers coaching business. So we are grateful for our sponsors and just glad to be here with all of you. So
thanks, Amber.
Yes, ma'am. Today, I'm so excited. I don't know if y'all can hear it in my voice. Hopefully it's coming through loud and clear. I get to interview Lindsey Fox again, which is one of my favorite things to do.
And also that's like one of my most uncomfortable things to experience.
Yes. So it's all in good fun. But today we get to talk about the wonderful retreat she held in Sedona.
Yay! Sedona, Arizona.
Just
awesome.
An absolutely magical place on earth that I cannot wait to visit. I followed along with your journey on the Insta stories and on Facebook, and just very, very jealous of all the fun and healing and amazing adventures that you and those wonderful ladies had.
It was magical.
And just, right? It looked magical. But let's talk about it, right? A few episodes ago, we talked about the back end side of setting up this retreat, why you were doing it, what it looks like, what you hope to accomplish, all of those things. So now that it's happened, you've returned, you've had a little time to get your thoughts together. Ish. Yeah, ish. Heavy on the ish because let's roll it back to last week. Lindsey had COVID.
Yeah. So I had, the amazing retreat. And then somehow, which is so crazy to me, guys, I was the only one that ended up with COVID. None of the other ladies who went on this retreat ended up with COVID. And two of them flew back to North Carolina with me, sitting next to me on the airplane.
It's just amazing.
Nobody else got COVID. So, or if they did, they tested negative and were asymptomatic. I, however, am still hacking out a lung. So I apologize in advance if that comes through in today's episode.
We will work through it. We will persevere. But so I guess where I really want to start is at the start. So I know the week leading up to the retreat was chaotic, trying to pull all the loose ends together, getting everything ready. Girl. But when you got on the plane, what were you thinking? Like, what were you feeling? What did that look like?
Amber, I was not thinking or feeling anything other than sheer exhaustion.
Right? That's the real talk, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat this and make it sound like everything was really fluffy and magical leading into this. So that our listeners have an understanding in terms of the last few months. You guys, it's been crazy. My mom had surgery. I was her caregiver throughout that. And then I had a national exam I needed to take, which has a 70% fail rate, which I passed, by the way.
You crushed it. Way to go.
I did. And this exam was 2 days before departure for the retreat. So, of course, I didn't pack or do anything until like the night before departure in the morning of. Things just were really chaotic, and just making sure I had everything, my itinerary, and getting in the airport, just to sit down in the airplane. I was like, okay.
We made it this far.
I made the flight. So to me, that was like half the battle I felt in that moment. But just, in all honesty, just to land, to touch down in Arizona and to be there and to be met with that dry air and the sunshine, I was like, okay, now we can just start. Yep. And so, just to be clear, I flew in early. So I did not fly in on the day of the retreat. I flew in several days prior to the retreat so that I would have some time, in theory, to decompress.
In theory, it's a good theory. It's good to have a buffer on the start and the end of a trip. I'm a huge fan of that. And I love that you attempted to work that in. But I have a feeling that when you landed, lots more chaos ensued. I saw you hung out with our friend Jay and Nina.
Yeah. Oh my
Man.
gosh, I did. You guys. Okay, if you guys remember Jay and Nina Tinsley,
Mm.
they have been on for several episodes. They were on, or Jay was on a Father's Day episode in the past, and then he's in the Power to the People episode from season 1. His wife came on for um, our Christmas episode, our holiday
Mhm.
episode, where we were talking about Judaism and Christianity and all that jazz. But yes, I did get to see them. That was awesome. It was so good to connect with them, and just to actually meet Nina in person was really
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, thank you
It's
for
a good
bringing that
cup
up.
filling moment. Yeah, of course.
Mhm. Yeah.
I have to ask because I think I saw you posted this or you texted me or something. You sold your room for the retreat? Help me understand because we talked, you were sold out and then you
Yeah.
sold your bed.
Correct. Yeah, that happened. That happened. And so you guys, this was another part of the retreat that there were just a lot of unexpected factors that took place about that. So we yes, we did sell out, and that was fabulous. And then unexpectedly, uh there were two people that contacted me and was like, I absolutely want to go, and I'm booking my flight right now. And I'm like, oh crap. Like, they
You're like front
contacted me
row.
back to back. And then in the middle of this is like right whenever I was about to take the exam. And then the other phone call came in quite literally as I was on my way to the airport. On like, yes, Amber's eyes just got huge. And so
You're
that's why,
joking.
no, that's why when you're saying like, hey, how did it feel to get on the airplane? I'm like, in reality, I was like, oh my freaking gosh, where are these people gonna sleep?
Yep.
um no, and it really was a wonderful experience. But the one person who booked last minute needed a private room, and so I was like, well, okay. And then the other person that booked last minute happened to be one of my family members,
Mm,
so I knew with her I had a little bit more flexibility.
right.
And so I did end up selling my private room, and then from there, the plan was, after speaking with my family member who was my cousin from Los Angeles, which, by the way, I know that you guys might have gotten to know her as a previous guest speaker here on the
Yes.
podcast. So Laura and I were just going to share a pull-out bed down in the basement. And of course, this was not expected. We did not plan this, but that is like how the plans had to pivot. I mean, and that really does speak to the entire retreat experience. Is like the entire thing was like, all right, things just
Plot
changed. Now we
twist.
just have to, yeah, like, just got to figure it out. So that was the plan. And then another girl in the retreat, a friend of mine, invited me to come stay with her in her room. So I ended up doing that. So it was just, I just went with whatever the flow was at that point in
Yeah.
time. And ultimately everything worked out. But it was definitely super stressful having all these last minute changes leading up to arrival, because that was supposed to be my downtime for just
Yeah.
me.
Well, and I'm really glad that you point that out because so often when we talk about planning these amazing retreats and helping clients and all of the glamour and the good reviews and the magic that happens, we
Yeah.
don't spend a lot of time talking about the work that goes into it, the
Mhm.
planning, the plot twists, and how that impacts
Yeah.
the people putting on the event, right? Because we're all
Behind the
humans
scenes.
first. Yeah, it's all behind
Yeah.
the scenes. And
Hmm.
obviously, you were still able to pull off an incredible event. I would say you've had some amazing reviews come in, and I'd love to be able to share some of those as we continue through the conversation.
Sure.
But the
Yeah.
first thing that I want to hear is how do you feel about the event overall? Like, would you say mission accomplished? I came here to do X, we did it, and I feel good. What does that look like for you?
The mission was beyond accomplished. In that sense, I mean, I really am still, I have not had time to fully digest and process everything um, on a personal level, but I would say, in terms of all of the women who went and the feedback I have received up to this point, and we even had like a post-return Zoom call. We had a pre-departure meeting through Zoom, and then after returning, a week after return, we all met again, just so I could check in with everyone, see how everyone was feeling after returning home.
Yeah.
And everyone just had, you could see actually a physical shift in their body and presentation as well. Just meeting with them after the retreat, I could just see some of like the glowing energy, like rays of sunshine from them, which was really cool because I could see there was a lasting change that unfolded during retreat, and not just them reporting it verbally, but for me
Right.
to actually see it in their physical energy and how they presented, which was really, really beautiful and awe-inspiring for me.
I love that. And you shared that it was something that stood out to me in one of the reviews that came in. And I'm going to take a minute to read it because this is the mission, right? So this person shared that it was an incredible retreat that brought me to recognize my own wisdom by overcoming mental blocks in a magical setting. Nature and building friendships in a safe place allowed my emotional healing to take place. Since I've returned home, I shine brighter with a greater purpose in my footsteps, which has a ripple effect on those I meet. Conscious healers helped me to surpass myself in ways I didn't think possible.
Yeah.
What an incredible piece of feedback, because what do we talk about here, right? The ripple effect on the world
Yeah.
around us,
Yeah.
our ability to have passion in all of the steps we take in the world, and just how that changes as the community at large. And to see that as one of the very first pieces of feedback, I think
Yeah.
kudos to you. I mean, I know it took an absolute act of Congress to pull this thing off, and you worked your tail off to make it happen. I love seeing that this is the feedback that's coming out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I have been quite taken aback by some of the feedback that I've received, just because in my mind, I knew this was going to be a special retreat because it was deeply personal to me. The mission of Conscious Healers, the vision that I've had for a while now. And so to put it into practice, I knew that whoever would be a part of the founding members for this retreat, it would be incredibly special for a lot of different reasons. So to then pay witness to others' healing journey and to see the light bulb moments go off was just it was just a beautiful thing that I honestly feel privileged to have witnessed and to be a part of.
It's amazing. And something you said, those light bulb moments, is there one that stands out to you as far as a moment that was your favorite, or one that was just beyond special, something that is stuck in your mind? We call them core memories, right? Things that they're just emblazoned in our brain.
Yeah, well, I can think of a number of individual light bulb moments that took place for other people. Um, but I also kind of want to take a moment to acknowledge, like, I was able to experience one. And so while I will share moments that took place on retreat as a whole, um, I know for me, one of my there were a few different moments that popped up, but one of my favorites was just being able to do yoga outside in nature on the earth on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
uh, that was just so profound. And as divine timing would have it, I ended up finding the most incredible yoga instructor. And you're not wrong about how it took an act of Congress to get this retreat to happen, because frankly, in some of these quirky, places like Sedona and Asheville and things like that, you find people who are very like hipster, go with the
Yeah.
flow. Oh, we'll figure it out. So like trying to get levels of commitment and people to follow through um, was really, really challenging. And I ended up finding a yoga instructor who I was like, wow, she seems really trauma informed. And,
Yeah.
this retreat had a special emphasis on post-traumatic growth. So it wasn't taking the clinical approach of looking at signs and symptoms of PTSD or processing trauma. It was just about focusing on your growth and reclaiming your power, reclaiming your life. And to have a yoga instructor who understood polyvagal theory, how our vagus nerve works, how to downregulate, and how to calm our nervous system. It was so cool to have someone like that there to offer some, just like a piece of that education, but to
Yes.
focus so much in the moment of like how to connect with your body while out in nature. That was a really profound moment for me personally to
Absolutely.
experience on a personal level, but then to look around me on this cliff and to see all of these women in their moment, I just was like whew, flooded
That's
with gratitude.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I started sobbing, guys.
That's
Like I just started
good.
sobbing. It was so overwhelming because it was just, you could just feel the love. And
Mm.
even that particular person, the yoga instructor, I had no idea she was going to do this. She posted something online um, that I'd like to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she knew that in terms of the group of women, most of these people, well, all of them are caregivers or mothers, light workers, healers, helpers in some way. And so every single woman that was there kind of had their own toggle of, should I do this for myself? Can I afford to take this time off from
Yes.
helping others in order to help myself? And that's a really common mental barrier that I find a lot of my clients come up against. So
Yes.
it was really cool to have her acknowledge, this yoga instructor acknowledge it. She said, it takes a special person to be a caregiver. There are times that some may choose that path, and other times we aren't given the choice, and that path finds us. It is both challenging and rewarding in its own right, and it certainly is not for the faint of heart. I had the
Amen.
pleasure and the privilege of meeting this group of lovely women, all who are caregivers from all over and in all forms. Conscious Healers retreats found me, and it was kismet, divinely ordered, if you will, truly meant to be that I would have the opportunity to guide these women through an intentional flow full of self love.
Mm.
I will never forget the energy exchange because it is something I haven't felt before. I remember opening my eyes and being so overcome with emotion, feeling the tears stream down my face, each one filled with gratitude. I felt so blessed to be in the presence of these women. You never know who you will meet. I love what I do and I love what I give. These women gifted me something huge that day. I will cherish this session deeply. Thanks to Lindsey for orchestrating a retreat for these caregivers. Your compassion is immeasurable, and you are quite literally an angel on earth. Life is just so, so good.
That is powerful. Like my hair is standing up. I have chills. Just what a gift to everybody involved, right? And I think that speaks to the power of what you
Mm,
orchestrated. And obviously, this has been a vision that's been on your heart for a long time, and seeing it come to life and seeing that every single person it touched
mhm.
walked away with something profound.
It was just, that's what I mean. I'm honestly like speechless to a degree where
Mhm.
I don't, it's pretty rare that I don't have words.
Listen, I'm going to stop you there because we've delayed this recording a couple of times because we couldn't figure out a way to process it out and put the words and the adequate feeling behind it and share.
Yes.
And that just speaks to the depth of power of what you just experienced and what everybody who participated experienced.
I think that's what was so mind-blowing for me is to and this happened same with we had a drumming circle, so even the people that were at the drumming circle spoke and reached out about, with very similar feedback. And it was just it's been overwhelming a bit, I think, for me on a deeply personal level to just say like, wow. Um
You did that. You created
but
that. You orchestrated it.
I hear you, and it's really hard for me to receive that because I feel like I really do feel I'm more of a conduit for something bigger. I don't feel like I want to take credit because it was such a collective
Mm,
heart energy where every single person a part of this experience made that experience for what it was. And while I was a central figure in it, I feel like I was a conduit for something that was so much bigger than me. Um, and it's been a profound experience. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I think that um, not only would we sell out, but we would do more than sell out.
yeah.
And that the vendors would be crying and having heartfelt emotion, and that there would be sponsors. Like the fact that
Right.
even a sponsor reached out to me and I did not seek out them. And they said, "Hey, how can we make this retreat happen? How can we support you?" It has swept me off my feet in a way where I just, after having the last 5 years of my life be so unbelievably challenging and the hardest years of my life, to be met with this on the other side. If you had told me this then, I would have never believed you. I would have never
Yeah.
believed it if someone had come to me and said, this will happen, or you'll be able to manifest this in X period of time. Um,
Absolutely. And I hear you loud and clear. And I want to say, yes, I appreciate what you're sharing and the fact that you're hesitant to take credit. However, if you chose not to listen and be open and be mindful and be receptive, none of this would have happened. If you
it's
chose to
true.
not trust, if you chose to take the easy path, if you
Hmm.
chose to um, say, hey, you know what? I've got too much going on for this right now, which would
Yeah,
no one would have blamed you with the amount of things you have going on at any given time. You chose
it's
the hard
true.
path. And that's the story of where you are today. And that's so
Yeah,
much about who you are as a person and why people are drawn to you is your innate ability to, one, make everybody feel seen and valued and respected and heard. And also that gentle, sometimes not so gentle for certain people, challenge to trust and lean into the discomfort and do the damn thing, right?
it's true. And thank you, Amber. I mean, really, a heartfelt thank you. It is hard for me to receive at times, but in this retreat, yes, I understand it would not have happened without me. But the women who showed up also showed up for themselves, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that I'm really proud of these women for having allowed themselves to be vulnerable, allowed themselves to step into a space with unfamiliar people and just be present. And
Yeah.
and me, y'all know me if you've been listening. I push my clients. I push people to do the work. And
Yes. I can honestly confirm. Yes.
yes. And Amber's not even my client, but as my friend, she knows. I
Yes.
will, because if I see something in you that you don't see in yourself, we're gonna make damn sure that you see it by the time we're done working together.
Yeah. And I think that's wonderful, right? And we're starting to scratch on the surface of something that I want to make sure that we create space for. And that's
Okay.
what's your key takeaway, right? For yourself, for the people who joined you on the retreat, and for the people who were not on the retreat, right? Folks who are just listening. What is, if you had to pick one thing that you learned, that you saw, that you experienced, what would that be? I know it's a hard
Mm.
question. It's not, I'm throwing you a little bit of a curveball, but
Well, I'm actually sitting here contemplating, like, well, which thing do I want to comment on?
all of
Um,
them.
okay. Well, then in that case, I feel like I need a notepad because my brain is going too fast for me to keep up.
Okay, so
Um,
let's slow it down. So if you wanted to share one message with the women who joined you on the retreat, what is that one message? What would you remind them of today, several weeks post retreat? What would you say to them?
Everyone moves at their own pace, and it's okay. Every single person moves at their own pace, and it's okay. I have a heavy emphasis on that just because I feel that the world of comparison is so common, where we look at other people's healing journey or their experience of overcoming or, stepping into a certain type of life. and we compare it. We compare our journey to another person's. And that really just fosters loneliness. It fosters self-deprecation. It fosters a lot of negative stuff that I do not represent or want any part of. And so I think a big part of the reminders I want to, encourage people, whether you're my client or not, we're on the retreat or not, it's just keeping in mind your own person. You are your own expert on your experience. Only you know your lived experience and what you are withstanding emotionally, situationally, whatever. And only you can truly understand what it is that you need and how to get there. I understand the how can always come with some guidance from either
Yeah.
a coach or a therapist or some type of third party, but you ultimately are who has a thorough understanding of what you need at the end of the day, and it should not be compared to anyone else's experience.
Absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful takeaway for a general audience, right? That doesn't just apply to the people who were there. I think that's a 100% transferable. And I think the experience sounds wonderful. The event obviously went incredibly well and has had rave reviews from participants, vendors, all of the above.
Yeah.
When's your next adventure? What's next, Lindsey Fox?
Oh gosh, Amber. I don't know yet, because frankly, I have a few different things that I'm toying around with in my head, but I
What?
haven't
No way.
haven't publicly shared anything yet, but I will. Well, already the women, just to kind of give you guys an idea, the women have already said, we want a 1-year reunion retreat. We want to come back same time next year
I was so
and
hoping
have
you were going
like
to say
a
that.
check-in. Yes, because a big something that we did on the retreat is I made sure everyone had an accountability partner, which it was a great icebreaker, frankly, at the beginning, and it became kind of like a running joke throughout the retreat, and especially at the end of like, "Where's my accountability partner?" And are they,
Right.
checking in with me? And did you even remember my name? Like,
Oh gosh.
I was like, I don't know, just
No
one of the
pressure. Yeah.
people had called one of the girls the wrong name, and it was just so funny because it was like the end of the retreat, and it was like, wait.
You're like, wait, what just happened? In
Oh,
all
so
fairness, like you folks were probably a little bit brain dead by the end of it, as far as like immediate recall of information, because it's emotional, it's, spiritual, it's all the
it was a
things. And that,
lot. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, it definitely was a lot. And I would say one of the most unexpected things for me as a retreat leader that I definitely did not expect is the group collectively voted to take an afternoon off on one of the days.
Oh, I love it.
I
Major
was,
plot twist.
I was like, what?
You're like, wait, no.
We have a plan, we have an itinerary, but if this is what you guys want, sure, we can take the afternoon off. So
Amazing.
I definitely, these there's certainly lessons learned that I'm kind of taking in terms of like, okay,
Mhm.
for future retreats, like, should it be longer or should the itinerary maybe have fewer items in it? I don't know.
Mhm.
So I think it depends on everyone's experience, but I just thought maybe one of the coolest parts of the retreats that came with some of its own upheavals in some areas, but was really valuable in others, is the fact that um, myself as a leader, but also the attendees, we all had to go with the flow. And every single group is going to be different. Every group of people who attend these retreats are going to have a different vibe to them. And this particular vibe of women just all, they just had their own flow
Man,
mindset.
amazing. And the fact,
It would have driven you nuts, Amber. It
yes,
would
I'm
have
sure
driven
of
you
it.
nuts.
Listen, when I saw that was not going to work out for me to attend, immediately I was like, okay, there's a reason I'm not supposed to be here. There is a reason that this is not working out. We
Yeah.
are not going to
Yep.
push the pull door. Like, we are okay.
No,
Everything is
that was not
fine.
your group.
Um, but what's
But
cool about what you just shared is they felt comfortable, confident,
yeah.
seen enough to say, hey,
Yeah.
we want an afternoon off. And you were able to respect that and say, okay, we take
Let's
the
do it.
afternoon off. Yes, that's Yep.
So we just revised the itinerary. I kind of tweaked in some things or cut some lessons short or did some
Yeah.
activities here or there. And we just made it work, and everyone was cool and on the same page. And I really do think that's a big part of the retreat experience, is
Yes.
understanding when you do need to go with the flow, whether it is you leading or you as an attendee, because that's where those learning experiences or those learning moments really take place in a retreat setting. And
Absolutely.
that communal environment of making meals together, cleaning up together, attending group stuff together, or the
Yeah.
yoga classes, hiking. You learn so much about yourself. You notice some of your emotional reactions to things. How are you feeling when the itinerary changes? Is it evoking some anxiety? Is it making you feel relief? like
Right.
and checking in with yourself around that. And so yeah, there was a lot of growth for all of us. And it was a very, very cool experience to pay witness to. I am just truly in awe that it even happened.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it'll still take time for you to process out, all of the things, right? Because everything goes at its own pace and we're all on a different track. So I think I appreciate you sharing everything. I know we're getting kind of to the end of our conversation, and I wanted to make sure we had space at the end. Was there anything that I didn't ask about that you particularly wanted to share about, or anything else that you wanted folks to hear before we end today's chat?
Mm. Oh gosh, there's so many things that I do want to share, but I'm also like, okay, I understand we're limited on time. And I would say the last day of the retreat was really, I would say, the most powerful in my opinion. And um, I just want to touch on that for a moment, because it was probably for me the most beautiful day to witness. I don't want to share all my tidbits and tricks and
No, because
every little
sometimes you just have to
activity.
be there.
That's right. You got to come to the next one to find out. But there was an activity that I had all the women do the last day of the retreat. And um, I'm trying to think, like, how do I share without sharing?
I know the
And
struggle's real.
it is, because I'm like, I don't want to tell. But I had all the women engage in the activity individually that they thought would have a ripple effect of influencing other women at the retreat. They thought
Mm,
it they thought their actions were going to be for the other women. Um, and I led them to believe that, because I knew their intention in approaching the exercise would reflect that. And
yep.
at the end of the activity, I shared with them that everything that they did was actually for themselves. And it was such a powerful moment for them to have this collective epiphany that
Mm,
they had everything they needed within them, and that they didn't need the external validation from other people, and they
yep.
didn't need that that the third party to tell them what to do or how to
Right.
achieve it, that they actually had everything they needed all along. And
And they could
the
do it for themselves. They didn't need somebody else to be needy for them to do
mm,
something. I think that's
yeah,
incredible. Because
it
how
was
often do we
profound.
find the strength to do absolutely everything for anyone else, but when it's one of our needs, we're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I
Yeah,
can't I
we
can't
can
do that
wait.
today. It can
Right.
wait."
Well, that was a big,
Yeah.
huge takeaway for a lot of the people there. I mean, it was just a very, you could just feel it. It was just such a huge moment for every single person there, um, that it was pretty profound. And I still, like, I think back on that particular activity in that moment, and I'm just like, wow, that
Yeah.
was amazing. What an
You're like,
amazing
"Chef's
way to cap it off.
kiss."
It was beautiful. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Just to, everyone kind of had their moment. And I think one of just another piece of feedback that I'd like to share, that one of the women had expressed, um, tearfully so. She said, coming on this retreat, I have discovered lifelong friendships here in ways that I've never
Mm,
experienced in my entire
yeah.
life. Um, where, it came with a level of grief because
Yeah.
it's like you understand, wow, this is possible. And I realize I've never had this before. I've never had
Yeah.
this level of unconditional positive regard and love from complete strangers before. And so, a big part of that focus is, how do we retain those relationships and acquire those type of relationships when we go home,
Yeah.
so that we can have a healthy, connected community who can support us and offer us that kind of, value of being seen and heard. So, yeah, there were some amazing moments like that that just really meant a lot to be a part of.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing with me. Always a joy when I get to interview you and put you in the hot seat. So
You,
thank you for bearing with me and getting into the discomfort and
you're
just
starting to like this a little too
I
much.
know it's a little too fun.
I know, you're like, what
No,
else
but
can I put Lindsey in
truly,
the spot for?
right? We're gonna have a plot twist of our own. No, I truly I enjoy hearing you talk about this stuff. I enjoy seeing you open up, seeing your light shine through because
Mm,
you are an incredible human, and that should be no surprise to anybody who listens to this podcast and who has been with us for a while because you have an amazing heart for the world around you, for the people around you. And me, I joke and say I like to put you in the hot seat, but truly, I like the ability to let you stand on the platform and let other people see that greatness, right? Like it gets hidden sometimes. So it is my joy to just put the megaphone on you for a minute. So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Amber.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you very
Lindsey.
much.
And thank
I
you
will
to, oh,
say, I mean, I was going to say, I will acknowledge, I do know that I'm walking my path. I do
yes.
acknowledge, like, I'm walking my life purpose, that this is my path. This is what I'm meant to do. I know that I'm very strong at what I do and what I offer others. And I believe in my mission. I believe in my vision. I know that all of this is going for the highest good of all. And it's not all for naught. My hardships and my suffering have not been for nothing.
Yep.
And I am determined and insistent that it not be for nothing at this
Dedicated,
point.
persistent, relentless, all of
Yeah,
these things.
relentless. That's a good one.
Relentless.
Relentless. Yes. So like
No,
I'll be damned if it takes up any space in a negative way. I've already been down that road in my life, and
yeah.
I'm hell bent and determined to create a new narrative in the life that I'm choosing to lead today. And I really, really want to help other people in doing the same, because you have the power to reclaim your life. And it really does start at such a basic heart level that we don't realize until it's like so simple yet so complex. But for those who are interested, you can book a discovery call with me at conscioushealers.com. That's something that I always urge people to do if you're kind of on the fence and wondering if coaching is a good fit for you. And we do a full-blown coaching intake as well, if that's the route that you want to take, where we can kind of figure out if it's a good fit. So just if you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM at Lindsey the Life Coach on Instagram, or just go to conscioushealers.com and we can connect there.
Absolutely. And what a great way to end this discussion, Lindsey. You are a gem to our listeners. We are so very grateful for you. Please continue to follow along with us. Please continue to give us those 5-star reviews as you listen to these episodes and fall in love with them.
Yes,
And
please.
yes, 100%. Keep sharing our platforms with your friends and family and acquaintances, right? Help us get the message out because we are, a podcast with a mission, right? We are here to
Mhm.
create change in the world around us. And we do that by enlisting your help and having you
It's
just
true.
spread the word and tell all the people, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think people kind of think like, oh, you guys have a successful podcast. That must mean that this is all you do. And it's like, no, guys, this is truly that. If y'all saw Amber's face, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, by the way, go subscribe on YouTube, so that you can see her facial expressions because they're hilarious. But yeah, I mean, we seriously do this as like a fun side piece as part of our actual lives.
Side piece.
I mean, like this is a side project.
Oh,
It is.
yes.
It's a podcast with a purpose. I mean, and we do this for fun on the side. This is not like our bread and butter and what we focus all of our energy to. This is truly something like we are passionate about bringing a message to you, our listeners, and your feedback really does mean a lot to us because, you know, the goal of this podcast is to normalize mental health matters and humanize lived experiences. And, you know, we want to hear from you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And until next time.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.
And we all sing, everything is gonna be just fine. It's gonna fall into place. The sun is gonna set on your terrible day.